I think back home, Washington invented the roundabout. Here in the East, y'all call it rotaries, which is kind of funny to me. We're in a rotary right now, just a different word, but pretty sure we came up with them first. This is my last day here in Rhode Island, most likely, and met a viewer, Gretchen, came by last night to say hi and remind me of a couple other places I might want to hit before I head out, so thank you, nice to meet you. I'm gonna go check out the Cliff Walk and possibly Fort Adams today. But anyway, I camped at Walmart here in Newport overnight, which wasn't even listed on my All Stays app for Walmart's. It doesn't even exist. I camped there overnight just fine, no problems. I submitted the new Walmart location to the site, but they have never approved anything I've added to that site for whatever reason. I don't know. But anyway, just so you know, yeah, looks like as of October 2016, Walmart in Newport is friendly to RVs overnight, so you can spend a couple days in the area, which is great. Also, I got a chance last night to go up on the roof and finally take care of the steel tilting beams that I got that were too long for the solar panels. Cut off 2 lengths of those with a steel blade hacksaw, which was not easy, but it's the only way I could do it. The easiest, most cheapest, convenient way to do it, I guess. Anyway, it works. They're both the same size now. That was easy. If you want to go on the cliff walk, you just park in the museum parking lot. They instructed me not to park over there, but told me to park on the road. And I'm like, on the road? Yeah, you can just park on the road. Okay, you're the boss. That's nice.
I mean, visitation isn't going down.
Well, while the museum might be pretty cool, it's $32 to go inside, and I think I want to be outside today, so instead of, I'll turn around so you can see it. That is the museum behind me there. Instead of doing that, I'm going to go find the cliff trail and walk along the water today. This is a good time of year to be in Rhode Island. I am falling in love with this place. Well, here we are on the cliff hike here in Newport. Wow. Going to be Fort Adams State Park here in Newport, Rhode Island. I'm going to head on into the visitor center real quick and get some information about tours, because it's only guided tours here. Obviously, I've also got to make sure that they allow cameras and videography, so I'll go find out. Sweet! You can take pictures and videography on the guided tour, and overnight parking is a question I had too, because it says by permit only. I'm not sure what that means. There's one other RVer here too. I asked her, and she's going to check on that by the end of the tour to find out if RVs are also allowed to purchase a permit and stay here, because that'd be really convenient. Tickets are $12, not bad. And I don't have to say a darn thing about this place, because we are going to learn the history together.
So this is the East Redoubt right here. The East Redoubt's the second of the two redoubts completed around 1840. Probably didn't see a lot of use until 1867, when shortly after the Civil War you have a crisis brewing here at the fort that repeats itself a few times in its history. Not much going on here. They get bored here. So to deal with that time, they often go out to town and play cards. Unfortunately, the card playing proves a huge distraction. They often forget about their duties here. In fact, this becomes such a chronic problem that the Army decides it has to make an example of some guys. They put cell blocks in there, add an attached guardhouse, and turn the building into a stockade. Now, you look beyond that, you'll see the end of a wall there. It's called the Crown Works. It has a full turf roof. Beyond that, there's a third wall. That has a slope leading up towards it called the Glacis. The Glacis has housing atop it, but originally it was a grassy slope. Combine the three, and you've camouflaged the fort from the south. Had the enemy approach by land or sea, they'd only likely come from that direction. They would not be able to see the fort. The fort would see the enemy coming, though, and should always be the one to fire first. Also note that the walls are never actually straight and often have projections in them called bastions. I'll point out the northeast bastion on the model here. It's over there in actuality, and there's a bastion opposite it. The point of the bastion, simply put, is if the enemy happens to be running alongside the wall here, the bastions keep them exposed. The large openings you'll see in the wall are embrasures. That's what you'd stick a cannon through to fire. And on either side of that, you'll see some slits. They're vents for cannon smoke. We'll go to the front entrance here. The East Sally Port was the principal way, means through which the construction materials were delivered as the fort was being built. So when you go up the ramp, which you're going to see in the stone there, these grooves, so mules and horses would have more secure footing. So you'll go right up the ramp, right up to the side of the parade. At this point, just take your ticket and attach the smaller portion there. Just hand it to me as you go up.
Thank you.
Wow, this place is massive.
So this open area is the parade field. It's where troops were both quartered and drilled. It's 6.5 acres. It's the size of the parade alone that makes Fort Adams one of the largest coastal forts in the United States. So the interpretive sign shows how you could take three well-known forts, McHenry, Ticonderoga, and Sumter. You could stick them on the parade alone, and still, you see, you'd have room left over. So when I talk about the size of the fort, I'm going to mention that the walls were designed to house up to 2,400 personnel and mount up to 468 cannon. Like I said, restoration is now handled by the Fort Adams Trust. And the first project was in 2001. So in that year, they oversaw restoration of the entire north wall. So to date, that's the only fully restored wall. Though the east walls had a lot of work done to it. The top of the wall's been restored. That was complete in 2005. And in 2008, they restored that section of the wall there. That's now the youth barracks, and it allows groups like Scouts a chance to spend a night inside the fort. Now, last year, they brought a bust of President John Adams from elsewhere in the park. It's here because he probably already guessed the fort's named after him. The only thing is this bust is commemorating a different fort. It's talking about a fort commissioned here in 1799. This was a smaller fort that was never completed. By 1824, the Army, which had seen and declared it worse than useless, had it torn down to make way for this one. But yes, it was the original Fort Adams. They kept the name, so technically this is Fort Adams number 2. Anyway, so these are some of the officer quarters, which range from the lowest ranking down at that end to the highest ranking at this end. They varied in size from 4 to 5 rooms. That size depended on the rank of the officer and also the number of people in his family. So you had families living here. In fact, in 1900, you had 535 residents, 27 of whom were wives, 95 were children, and 21 were servants. Those narrows, they go outwards so nobody can shoot in. By the same token, though, they're not going to let a lot of light either. The quarters were actually pretty dark. They were frequently described as being miserable and unwholesome places in which to live. Such that by the 1870s, they built new quarters out there for them, including some very fancy ones they put on the hill for the CO. In the 1950s, after the armies left here, the President of the United States is a guest at the naval base, and one day he sees the vacant CO quarters and decides to move into them because they're next to the country club where he golfs. It comes to Summer White House, and of course the building is known today as the Eisenhower House. Okay, so we're looking north up Narragansett Bay. We're facing inland. You sail north, you could reach Providence. If you want to get to sea, you got to go south. That'll soon take you to the East Passage. So of 3 passages, the east is the narrowest, but it's the deepest too. So it's the only way large ships can get in and out of the bay. This is a muzzle loader. Pounder refers to cannonball weight. At that time, you also had this very similar 32 and 42 pounders. This gun weighs 5,500 pounds. It had a range of a mile. A crew of 4 to 5 who, if they're good, should be able to get off 2 rounds every 2 minutes. So the embrasure had shutters. You pop open the shutters, wheel the cannon forward, stick the muzzle right out there. Underneath the breech, there's an elevating screw, and up here, there's a vent. So you rupture the gunpowder bag through there, then you insert a primer attached to a lanyard. Pulling the lanyard ignites the primer, which sets off the gunpowder, resulting in a tremendous blast that alone is enough to recoil the cannon back into its original position. So Paul's spiral hooks are worms. They get in there, scoop out flaming embers. Then he thrust in sponge rammers to soak and dry it. That's your safeguard against the misfire, but if a misfire occurred, that's why you made the embrasure mainly out of brick. So if the cannonball hit the brick would crumble in the powder. The cannonball would get absorbed. If you place granite there, the cannonball would come right back to the gun crew in pieces, not something they wanted. This was dangerous work, and even though Fort Adams never fell under attack, they did want to be prepared. Live drills were always taking place here. And you can imagine then what a casemate must have been like with the smoke filling it, the smell of the burnt gunpowder, and the boom of the cannon, which was loud enough to cause permanent hearing loss for gun crew members. And also firing cannons all the time create a lot of tension between the Army here and the local residents. Okay, so next I'm going to take us on to the West Wall. I'm going to tell you how guns like this would have been used in battle against enemy ships. I'll point out a few more things along the parade, then we're going to finish up the parade and go through the south wall to see the land defenses and the tunnels. The West Wall, like the rest of the fort, was designed in the early 1800s. That means it was designed specifically to deal with an early 1800s naval attack. So that would mean these massive wooden warships sailing in the Narragansett Bay, firing their guns broadside at the fort. So to deal with that threat, you could mount up to 117 cannons in the wall, lined on 3 tiers of firepower. You'd have cannons at the top of the wall aimed at the ship's mast and rigging. So as the ship goes by, they fire things like chain ball. That gets caught in the mast, knocks them down, tears apart the sails. Cannons at the center were aimed at the deck, and they fired grape shot that scattered everywhere. Cannons at the bottom were aimed at the water. So when they fired, they aimed shy at their target. So that way these 42-pound cannonballs hit the surface of the water, bounced on the surface, and struck the ship right at the water line. And they heat these cannonballs up beforehand, too, to produce hot shot. That'll have a devastating effect on these wood ships that were bone dry from their time at sea. So when the red hot cannonball struck them, they went up in flames. So you can see this was state of the art in the early 1800s, but that's when the forts get designed. The problem is they're going to be built. They take such a long time to build these forts, such that by the time they're completed, or even before they're completed, they're already obsolete. They simply could not keep up with rapid advances you had in ship and artillery technology, like ironclad ships used during the Civil War. In fact, during that time, what they attempted to do here was replace the 24-pounder type guns with Rodmans, which were these huge shell-firing guns. The thing is, they only managed to get a dozen Rodmans in between here and the Crown Works, and that's pretty much all you had in place right through the late 1880s. Beyond the southwest postern here are the land defenses. They are one of a kind at the fort. They include the tunnels. This fort has over 2,400 feet of tunnel. Here's the tunnel entrance right down here, and there's another tunnel like it further down the wall. Tunnels had different purposes. You're going to see a listening tunnel shortly, but right now let me say the tunnels like this one run from the south wall under the ground to the wall beyond. That's the Crown Works, and I'll take us through there next. We'll mainly be walking on the ground out there, so just watch your step and be careful in this postern here as well. It's a little dark.
Posturing.
Okay, so imagine the fort's under attack by land. You got two things going on that front. One's the action I mentioned earlier with the South Redoubt. So again, that's another fort. It's a miniature version of this one, built along the same complex lines with moats around it, turf roofs, firing galleries from muskets, and casemates. That alone gives the enemy a good fight, keeps them off that hill, like I said, and also slows them down as they try to come this way. Now, the other thing you got going on is the direct assault on the fort by land. So that involves the enemy charging up the glacis, which ends at this wall. So you want to place a lot of guns on top of the wall there. Then you're going to pull a lot of guns on top of the Crown Works. Now, the enemy's charging up a grassy slope that offers them no cover when suddenly they take gunfire from the two walls. That's the land battle right there, because the guns are flank howitzers firing canister shot that sprays all over the place. The enemy tries to get up in the face of that. Early on, realizes they can't, so instead they opt to fall back and put the fort under siege. Now, I'll talk more about a siege in a moment, but imagine the enemy did reach the end of the glacis and began to penetrate the outer moat. What then? Well, you'll notice that the Tanai has gun ports at both ends there, so it'll take fire from that. If you look where I'm pointing up there on top of the Crown Works, you might make out a couple of gun placements up there that would allow those guns to aim anywhere in here. So around the corner then where the other Tanai is, you have a very similar arrangement, but with additional gun placement. Bottom line is, if the enemy ever came in here, at any given point they'd be under fire. So even if they made it this far, they're not likely to get beyond this point. But what if they did? So we're going to go back the way we came, pretending we're the enemy here, trying to storm the fort, and see what defenses we encounter next. Okay, so as we came this way, what happens is the guns on top of the wall there now aim in here and fire at you. And then you got two guns sticking out those embrasures firing at you as well. Meanwhile, the Tanai squeezes you against the Crown Works, leaving you more vulnerable to that. The Tanai's main function, though, is to hide the postern here from the enemy's view. So if you've come this far, you've discovered that, but you've also discovered you're being kept out by two layers of inch-thick wood door bound by iron studs. So you got to spend time bringing the doors down. Well, meanwhile, they're going to be over there still spending time shooting at you, so that's not easy. Get the door down, what are you going to see at the other end there? More door. But hey, you're taking all this fire out here. You don't like that, so when the doors come down, you, the enemy, are going to come storming in here. So let's storm in here. All right, stop storming right here. We didn't make it, unfortunately. Look what we stormed our way into. Rifle loopholes. Each one of these openings would have a musket sticking through it. Every postern had a hidden firing gallery or two. your chances of getting through one are not very good, especially with the door at the other end there. But what if you got through that door? Is there anything waiting on the other side? Let's see. Okay, so look at the crown works. What do you see? A long firing gallery there, lots of rifle loopholes. Now look at the south wall. There's a firing gallery there. That's mainly embrasures. And each of those would have a flank howitzer sticking through, firing canister shots. So it's one of the enemy trying to storm the fort, which you've just done is stuffed into a killing zone. You find yourself subject, left and right, to a lethal hail of gunfire, and wish you called in sick that day. This is the wrong way to take the fort. What's the right way? I already said it. Fall back, put the fort under siege. Now, the fort can go about 2 weeks under siege, and the thinking was within that time, naval reinforcements arrive. During that time, there's something the enemy might try, though. They might try to take the fort below ground. So they mine under the walls, trying to collapse them. You know, as ideas go, that's not a great one. A lot of problems with a mining operation to begin with, but if you do it around here, the additional problem is the amount of rock in the ground. It's too rocky in much of this area to attempt it, except down at that end towards the harbor there. But had the enemy tried it there, they're in for a surprise, because when Totten designed the land defenses, he considered the possibility of enemy mining operations and added a defense against them. Listening tunnels, and I'll show you one next. Okay, I'm standing in front of the entrance to a listening tunnel, which, as its name suggests, is where troops defending the fort can listen for enemy mining operations. That said, I'm about to take you inside to see a listening tunnel. I just want to say a couple of things first. First of all, you don't have to go inside the tunnel. You can wait out here. We're going to come out this way in a moment, but if you do follow me in the tunnel, you need to know you got 6 feet of ceiling clearance, and it will drop to under 5 feet. So some ducking's involved the full way, which you don't have to go. Any point you decide you want to turn around is fine. Just let me know. Regardless, it's dark in there, so you're going to take lights from the bench. Mainly shine that light on the ground. Primarily, watch your footing in there. You have bumpy and rocky areas in there you want to be aware of so you can step over them carefully. We're going single file. I'll lead the way through most of it. I will, though, stop to talk, check on you, and then I'm going to fall back to, so I'm the last one leaving. So take your time in there, please. Move carefully at your own pace, and if you're not sure where the ceiling is, stick a hand or a hat over your head. Now, once you have a light, follow me down this way. We're going to form a line here. That'll go in the tunnel. You got some steps right here, they're kind of wet, so just be careful on it. We haven't left the crown works, we're not going to leave the crown works. At the end of 6-foot tunnel, though, that's the end of the wall. Then you get to the stairs. The stairs go down and lead to more tunnels, some of which they built the glacis over, so they go right to the end of that. Bottom line is there's plenty of places in which soldiers could listen for the enemy. Listening is the easiest part. The tunnels amplify sound, but then you got to pinpoint the enemy's location. Okay, so next you want to follow me to your left. This is the under 5-foot part here, so duck down, watch your head, and watch your step. Wow. And so halfway through here now, the ground gets a little rocky, so just keep an eye on the ground. Right out here. Right out here, 6 feet out here.
I think the coolest part of that was when it got really low, and you're like down there crouched with your neck, like it never ends. It was creepy.
Stick it. There you go. Stick it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Glad you like it.
That was a fantastic tour. I love the tunnel part. That's my favorite. It just makes you feel like you're actually a part of it, so that was cool. I also asked them here about drones for aerial stuff, state parks in the state of Rhode Island, and that is a big negative within state park boundaries of the state of Rhode Island. I'll do that some other day. Anyway, I am going to go back to the RV, feed Jaximus Maximus, and when I woke up this morning, I had no idea where I was going to end up at the end of the day. It's only 2 o'clock, but I didn't even think it through. Am I even staying in Rhode Island? Am I getting into Connecticut today? So, I'll have lunch, look at a map, I'm making this up as I go. So before I forget, maybe not my favorite part was the tunnel. My favorite part of the whole fort was the idea that all of the roofs, all of the tops of it was all turf, meant to look at the grass of the ground, so that the enemies can't see. I think that's really cool, natural camouflage for that period of time. That was probably my favorite part. How's the food situation? You full now? Oh, pretty good, pretty nummy, huh? What's wrong with your tongue? Oh, you gonna take a break now? Okay, sounds good. Catman Jax! One other update about my plant situation. Well, the cat grass, couldn't save it. It died. Either I overwatered it, didn't water enough, I have no idea. It's gone, no more cat grass. But my two other potted plants, I got my croton here in the bathroom, and I've got my palm tree, Seiyu palm tree out there. They have developed, they had developed what looked like white, gray, fuzzy stuff on the top of the soil, which I guess is mold. The top of both of my plants got mold, and I think it's because I live in an RV in humid areas, plus the propane heat. I did find a solution to that. I'm going to show you. I guess most of the mold has actually gone away from this one. You can still see a little bit of it in there, but what I did is actually used hydrogen peroxide to water 1 to 5 part in this spray bottle, and then about once or twice a day I just spray the top of the soil all the way around. Try not to get it on the leaves. But yeah, eventually I think all of the mold will be gone from my 2 plants. Easy do-it-yourself little tip. And I learned that tip on YouTube myself, so I am just resharing the information. But I am back here at Easton's Beach in Rhode Island. I have plotted in my coordinates to drive 52 miles today, more than my 30, but I did spend 2 days here in the area, so I'm going to finish out my afternoon at one of my favorite spots here in Rhode Island, and that is this public free beach. So that's what the plan is. Hey guys, this is Jax, my kitty cat. I'm his servant, Eric. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel here on RVing. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up below. Make sure you subscribe, check out all our other videos, and keep following us on the road. Thanks, guys.